Hello and welcome to How to Increase Revenue 996 times, leads 26.9 times, and dominate your market using Ninja SEO. Now, I have to confess before we start, those numbers are actually not accurate. They're numbers taken from some of the case studies that we're going to be looking at today. And actually, for the sake of making them more believable, I've actually halved them. So the real numbers are actually double that, but in order to make it a bit more believable, I halved them. This presentation also segues into another one which we run called How to Get Your Business Featured in National and International Publications Free of Charge. These two topics are very closely related, as we'll see. So we go from the SEO piece into this digital PR and content marketing session afterwards. So the goal of today's masterclass is to show you strategies to increase the ranking of your website and increase your leads and sales, whatever your business size and market. So the stuff that we're going to be looking at today, loads of different case studies. We've got e-commerce companies, we've got service companies, we've got software companies, relatively new businesses, and much more established businesses as well. So whatever you sell and whoever you sell it to and however long you've been going, you're going to find some examples which are relevant for you. Bit of a quick introduction to me first of all, so you know why I'm worth listening to. My name is Tim Cameron Kitchen. I'm best-selling digital marketing author. Those are some of our books there. That middle one, How to Get to the Top of Google, is the best-selling SEO book in Europe. There's a new version out since that image was made. Been at the forefront of online marketing since 2008, both running my own companies and working with clients through Exposure Ninja. And Exposure Ninja services, books, training, consultancy has helped over 10,500 businesses, and we've gone from 3 to 60 staff in 6 years. So we're a digital marketing agency. Basically, we do this for companies, and this presentation is showing you behind the scenes on some of those campaigns, so we can show you exactly what those businesses did to generate these ridiculous results, so that you can copy and do the same for your business. So the reason why we're using case studies is because obviously we know exactly what was done and we know the numbers, that came out of it. So this isn't like a thinly disguised pitch to say, hey, you need to sign up for Exposure Ninja or anything like that. It's just, hey, these guys have used exactly this process and they've got these results and you can do exactly the same. Now, before we get started on the case studies, one of the things I want to talk about is the fact that we either use the business name and we share the business name, or we share the very specific numbers. So if we share the business name, so we can show you landing pages and stuff, then we'll talk about revenue multiples and we'll talk about, we'll show you general ranking increases, but we won't reveal specific revenue numbers. If we reveal specific revenue numbers, we won't share the business name. So this is just for confidentiality. If you're one of these guys' competitors, for example, and you saw this is basically everything about their business completely laid bare. So we've either shown the strategy and some general results, or we've shown the specific results. So what's today's session all about? Here's a run through of what we're going to be looking at. We're first going to go through a quick SEO recap. So whether or not you're experienced with SEO, we're just going to talk about what SEO looks like in 2018, what's working and how these things happen. I'll talk you through the process that we're going to use for all of the case studies as well. Then we'll go into the case study. So the first case study, increasing leads for a lead generation company by 54x year on year. So that's not 54%, that's 54 times. So they're getting 54 times the number of leads 1 year later as a result of this process. Second case study is an e-commerce business which hit top of Google for 777 keywords, which I know sounds completely ridiculous. I'll show you exactly how they did it. Third case study is exploding organic traffic by turning a SaaS business owner into a global authority. So these guys have a software product which is very B2B, and in order to get that product visibility, we turned the business owner into a super authority in their market, and as a result the ranking just completely took off. So we'll show you how they did that. And the fourth and final case study is increasing e-commerce sales from $500 a month to $996,000 per month. So pretty cool. And then we're going to how to get featured in national and international publications free of charge. Now, all of the case studies that we look at today have used this strategy, getting featured in national and international publications, and it's a large part of what got them the success. So that's why we've tacked it on here to show you, because that's kind of supplementary thing that we need to go through. And then we'll go through a bit of a summary and then look at how you start to implement this stuff for yourselves. Now, one important thing to note, as we look at different businesses in different markets, the tendency can be to say something along the lines of, but my business is different because, so these guys are e-commerce. Well, this wouldn't work for me because my business is different because it's a software company, or my business is different because my audience is more clever or more stupid or rich or poor, whatever, right? The thing that we're looking at today is how to increase the ranking of a website. It's very much, you change what's on your website, you change how you promote it, that gets picked up by algorithms and that turns into ranking. So it doesn't matter what you sell, it doesn't matter who your business is, who you serve, none of that really matters. All this is just about what you need to do to improve the ranking of a website. Cool. Right. So we're going to be looking at SEO. It's worth saying that, this is the Explosion Engine Marketing Circle, so no prizes for guessing how we came up with the name. But it's worth saying that SEO, the thing that we're looking at today, is only one element of this entire marketing circle. So lots and lots of different marketing strategies that you can be using. And obviously we're not, this isn't an entire digital marketing campaign. This is just one piece of it. The website is at the middle for a good reason. If I just go back, the website's in the middle for a good reason. As we'll see, when it comes to SEO, if you've got a terrible website, if your website is underperforming, it's really difficult to improve its ranking, right? There are some key things that your website needs to do. Now, that's not to say your website needs to be the most beautifully designed, it needs to be super up to date or anything like that. Actually, none of that stuff really matters a huge amount, but there is some really fundamental stuff that needs to be handled on your website. So we'll look at that. Anyway, let's start with going through a quick SEO recap. So our definition of SEO, or search engine optimization, is arranging the online information about your business in a way that makes Google want to rank your website highly. I'm not too sure about the grammar there, but anyway, it's not my strong point. So what does this all mean? Well, basically every business has information inside it. So whether it's information in the business owner's head or in the staff's head, or whether it's information about the customers or information about the problems that you solve, whatever, you have a lot of information and expertise. Google wants to reward websites and businesses that share their expertise. So all we're doing with this whole thing about SEO is we're just taking that information out of the head of you and everyone in the business and putting that online, and we're formatting it in a particular way that when Google looks at your website, it says, wow, this website is a real authority in this topic, and therefore it's going to rank prominently. So that's really what we're doing. Now, we don't hear it too much, but, the chatter kind of stopped around 2014, I think, when people stopped saying SEO is dead. People saying, Facebook ads, Facebook ads is a thing now. SEO is, it's a bit old school, isn't it? You can't really influence ranking anymore. It's utter bullshit. As long as there is a search engine, there will be search engine optimization. And as we're seeing with things like voice search, for example, I don't know if you use Google Home or Alexa and stuff like that, you'll find that actually when you make a search, you only get one search result. So if I say to Google, hey Google, take me to a local florist, for example, on my phone, I might get 3 results. I may even just get 1. I know if I ask Siri, I tend to only get 1. So what we're seeing here is we're not seeing the death of search engines at all. We're actually seeing search engines take another step closer to being the ultimate source of information. But the stakes are even higher because now we don't, you can't be on page 2, right, for a search like take me to my local florist, because if there's only one result, page 2, you're nowhere, are you? So it's a real all or nothing battle. So as we see search engines evolve, the thing that's going to be constant is all we're doing is we're optimizing your business so that wherever people search, you're showing up. That's what SEO really is. And that's why as long as there's a search engine, then SEO will not be dead. So SEO, break it down into 2 areas, on-site optimization and off-site promotion. Those are the 2 areas, and everything that we do when we're increasing the ranking of a website falls into one of those 2 categories. So let's look at each of them in a bit more detail. On-site optimization is about addressing your website, right? So on-site as in on your website. What we're doing here is we're taking the information on your site and we're arranging it in a way that makes Google want to rank it highly. So first thing, obviously making sure your website is Google friendly. So making sure it's readable, making sure that you've got enough text on your site. One of the big problems we see with a lot of websites is they just simply don't have enough text. They'll say things to us like, hey, I want to rank for this phrase, lawyer in Belgravia, whatever. we'll have a look on the site and we'll type in lawyer in Belgravia, see if they've got this piece of text on their website. And lo and behold, they don't. They don't have any mention of lawyer. They don't have any mention of Belgravia. And you're thinking, well, hold on, how's Google going to justify ranking you for phrases that you're not even using on your website? So text is how Google and people understand what's on a web page. So having a good amount of text on your site is absolutely fundamental. We'll look at some examples in the case studies. We need to make sure this text is descriptive and optimized. So if you've got one sentence on your homepage, which is some kind of ethereal description of what your business does, we use some super clever tagline that doesn't really tell us. It's all about solutions. The trouble is Google sees that and it's like, I don't have a freaking clue what this is about. And exactly the same for visitors. So we need to make sure that the text is really descriptive. If you're a sports photographer, for example, then a really great headline for your homepage is sports photographer, because it just tells people exactly what you do. It tells Google what you do as well. And we'll look at these things in a bit more detail. It's also a good idea to make sure that you have separate pages on your site targeting different services and different keywords. So let's say that you're selling lots of different types of clothing, for example, on your website. You're selling trousers, you're selling jackets, you're selling shoes. Now, if you just had one page on your site, which was clothing, and it listed all of the different types of clothing that you sell, well, the trouble is when Google looks at that page, it's think, okay, what's this page really relevant for? Well, actually, there's potentially loads of phrases. So we end up kind of diluting the optimization of that page. On the other hand, if you have a page which is all about trainers, and we sell trainers, or even we sell Nike trainers, or even we sell Nike running trainers, or even we sell Nike running spikes, then you can optimize that page. You can have all of the content about that topic. You can make sure that the behind the scenes optimization is about that topic. You can use that topic in your headline. All of this really helps Google to say, wow, this page is really, really authoritative on that topic. So that's what we're trying to do. And again, we'll see this in the case studies. And good idea to be blogging about topics people actually care about. So I don't know about you, but a lot of the website owners that we talk to, they say, oh yeah, my blog, I know I should be posting on it, but really the last time I posted on it was 2016. I wrote a couple of posts and no one really looked at them, so I kind of stopped. And we'll go back and we'll have a look at the posts, and it'll be things like welcome to our new website or new product launched. And it's just like, okay, nobody actually cares about that stuff at all. So I'll talk you through a blogging approach that you can use, which people actually care about and makes your website rank. Basically, on-site SEO is about having a good website. That's really what Google wants to get to. It wants to reward the best websites. So let's talk about the other side of things, which is off-site promotion. So off-site promotion is all about promoting your website around the internet to show Google that it's really popular. So this is basically getting high authority websites to link to you. Every time you get a website linking to you, that's like a vote to say to Google, this website is really authoritative. So if you've got lots of links from lots of different websites and they're all really high authority, that tells Google that you're high authority as well. So a few different ways to do this, and again, we're going to be looking at these in the case studies, but things like running original studies and actually making yourself newsworthy, so you're getting featured in different places like newspaper sites, magazine sites, great way of picking up some visibility. The important thing about offsite promotion is it needs to be a process. This is not something that you do for 20 minutes one Sunday because you watched a presentation about how to do SEO. This is something where every single month, Google needs to see that you are getting more links coming to your website, because that's what happens with good quality and high authority websites, right? They continually pick up links. So this needs to be something that you're constantly working at and it's never finished. Basically, offsite promotion is about doing good marketing. If you're doing really good marketing and you're being featured everywhere and you're being talked about all over the place, that's the sort of website that Google wants to rank. Okay, so those are the basics. We've got on-site optimization, off-site promotion. You'll see in every single case here, we always do on-site optimization first, and then we do off-site promotion, and it's exactly the same process all the time. That's the reason there's 4 case studies, so you can see that this is a very consistent and clear process every single time. So let's jump straight into the case studies then. So we're going to start with this lead generation website. So they increased their leads 53.88x in 1 year. So that's not 54%, that's 54 times. So where do we start with these guys? Well, they are a legal lead generation company. So they specialize in PPI. This basically means, those cold calls that you get saying, hey, have you had PPI? These guys are in that market. Okay. Now, the downside of that is it's uber competitive. They're going up against businesses that have been doing this for years and years and years investing huge amounts of money. Companies like Gladstone Brooks, massive visibility in this market. So for this business, very, very tough place to be. They needed more leads fast, right? They were getting relatively few leads from their website, and that was their entire business. So they really needed to improve things. Website ranking and visibility generally was very low when they came to us. Most of their leads are actually coming from another client of ours, which is another story. I don't want to get into too much, but basically we'd written an article for one of our other clients, and we'd linked to these guys in that article. That article was ranking really, really well, and the traffic to these guys from that article was so much, the number of leads they were getting was so high that they actually contacted us and said, wow, what did you guys do with this article? It's getting us a ton of business. And then they ended up becoming clients of ours. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, that's another story. So as I said, the first stage is always the on-site optimization, right? It's always fixing the website first. So the first thing that we do is look at the website. First thing, increase the content on the site. The website had very small amount of content on. The blog wasn't really being used particularly well. So we beefed up the blog. We actually wrote over 40 blog posts for them in the last 10 months, all targeting variations and specific questions people have about PPI. So for example, here's a blog post you can see called Claim Back Barclaycard PPI Before the Upcoming Deadline. So what we're doing here is we've identified that there's search volume for a phrase like Barclaycard PPI, and we've written a blog post designed to rank for that phrase. So we've done this loads and loads of times across loads of different brands, and the effect of this is that once each of these blog posts starts getting ranked for that phrase, each of them starts picking up their own traffic. So you can see that actually using this method, the blog is a really good source of traffic for them, whereas most companies, their blogs are just this kind of dead wasteland. Next thing we did, optimize the page titles and meta description. So these are little technical bits behind the scenes of every single page on your site. Now the page titles are ridiculously important. So this is the stuff that you will see in your browser tab. You know, when you're on a website, the bit of text that you see in your browser tab, that is the page title, and it should include the target keywords for the business. And a very, very important piece of SEO. In fact, in one of the other masterclass sessions, I show you how to analyze your page titles and also analyze your competitors' page titles as well. We also fix a lot of on-site errors, so things like broken links and that type of stuff. So once the website was optimized, we then started to look at how we could get these guys some more traffic. So one of the things that we noticed was that there are a lot of featured snippets in this market. So for example, a phrase like best PPI companies, if you search Google for that, we actually got these guys showing up in that featured snippet section. So you can see there, that's the client's website there, canaryclaims.co.uk. That entire block of content has been taken from their website. And you can see there's a little table there that's been pulled from their homepage. Says best PPI companies, why we are the best PPI claims company, and then it lists all the different companies and it lists their fees. And Canary Claims is the cheapest fee. So what we're seeing there is when someone types in best PPI companies, they're getting almost like Google's telling them, hey, Canary Claims are the best PPI company and they're the cheapest. So really kind of clear, clear result, and for this kind of featured snippet thing is so powerful, drives so much traffic. So we optimized the content on the site, had to make sure that they were showing for these featured snippets, and as we increased the authority of the site, they started picking up more and more of these, and in fact now they have a total of 12 different keywords that they show up for with these types of featured snippets. So if you just search for PPI companies, which is a really broad phrase, again you get exactly the same thing there. PPI claim low fee, you'll see there's another featured snippet. So loads of these things, and really good for ranking. So once we've done that, the next thing we do is the off-site promotion, right? So this is getting links through to the site. So we used a few different angles. We use content marketing. Now, content marketing is an umbrella term which includes loads of different particular strategies. But one of the ones that we use for these guys, which has been really effective, is getting them links in the sort of publications which people might be likely to read. So for example, here we got a link from smallbusiness.co.uk. And what we're doing is we're identifying how PPI and how the topic that this client focuses on could be relevant to each of these websites. So, for example, on smallbusiness.co.uk, we say, okay, how could we get links from these websites? How can we get an article placed on this website? Well, we could talk about the impact that this is having on banks and on businesses, because that's what the audience of this website wants to learn about. Here's another one on Business News Daily, and this is about how to write a great about section for your company's website. So it's actually nothing to do with PPI at all, but if you're a business owner and you have an area of expertise, or you can talk about anything at all, then you can start picking up some links. So here's, both of these articles feature the client and link back to their website. So a great way of picking up some links through to the website through this content marketing. Another thing that we did with these guys to get links, because links is the aim, and any business can use these strategies. I'm going to show you lots of different executions of these exact strategies, but another thing that we did was run some original studies. Now, original studies are a great way of picking up links, because if you've ever read the newspaper and you notice that there's all these studies about, chocolate leads to diabetes, and then next thing it'll be chocolate leads to weight loss, or, whatever it is, all of these little statistics or study things are carried out by businesses, and they're carried out by businesses to get attention. So we thought, well, we're going to do some of that. So obviously it needed to be around PPI, or it could be around PPI, or it could be around anything really. But we decided to do it around PPI, because that was their business. So I don't know if you remember, but the Financial Conduct Authority started a £46 million ad campaign where they wanted to publicise the fact that there's this PPI deadline. So Arnold Schwarzenegger came, and I think it was like his head on a tank or something. We thought the whole thing was just completely ridiculous and likely to be very ineffective at doing what it was intended to do, which was to raise awareness of the deadline. So what we did is we ran a study to find out. So we ran a study to find out how people had learnt about the deadline and how many people actually knew about the deadline following this stupid ad campaign. And it turns out that only 16% of people knew about the PPI claims deadline, or could tell what it was accurately. So 16% were aware of the deadline, 54% of people had no idea when the deadline was, and everybody else guessed the wrong date, right? So this piece of advertising was just complete waste of money, total waste of time. But the point was, we ran a study to find that out, and then once we had that data, we started then sending it out to different publications. And because this is something that's fairly newsworthy, it's like, hey, this government thing was just complete waste of money and totally rubbish. Then people start picking it up, and lots of publications want to write about this type of thing. So a few different angles that people take. Here's an example on Yahoo Finance. So this is a really high authority website. They've basically focused on the fact that billions of pounds are at stake, as most Britons are unaware of the PPI claims deadline. And then the Mirror also picked up on it as well. So in total, 243 different websites linked through to this study. Now, the study was published on the client's blog. And the reason that we published it on the blog is because when anybody talks about the study, they're going to want to link to the results in the study, because the blog post tells people, how we came up with the data and how it was all measured and stuff like that. So every time they talk about it, for example, in the Mirror, you can see, or you might be able to see the research in full, please visit here. And then it's a link through to the client's website. So this is a great way of picking up loads and loads of links. So that's why we're doing it. So the results from this work, well, the ranking dramatically improved. Here's a ranking chart. So what you're seeing here, that little blue line, is the website's visibility for the target keywords. Okay, so the keywords that we're trying to rank the site for, this is how the visibility is improved over time. And I'm also going to show you the specific rankings there. So you can see in that table, the blue words, these are the phrases that the site is ranking for. So PPI claims best company. You see that's a keyword. That's the first one. Then in the blue column, you can see the little number 1. So 1 means it's top of Google, right? Position 1 on Google. So any keyword that has the number 1, it's top of Google. And if you see that little crown icon, that means it's a featured snippet as well. So it means that little piece of text that's actually above all the other search results. And then the final column, that diff column, that where it has a little green number and an arrow, that means, for example, that keyword has increased 6 positions. So that keyword started off in position 7, it's increased 6, and it's now number 1. So the next one, best company to claim back PPI, position 1, and it was in position 10, and so on and so on. So lots of fantastic keywords to get visibility for there. PPI low fee, best PPI claim, PPI companies, all those types of things. And if we scroll down, you'll see there's lots. And we start to get into position 2 as well. PPI claim today, position 3. So lots and lots of different phrases that they're ranking for. Now, the benefit to this obviously was leads. So the number of leads that they had increased 53.8 times year on year, and they increased their SEO investment with us 3 times as a result. I should say they're not paying a huge amount of money. So they're paying less than 10K. I'll say that. They're paying less than 10K a month for this. And the results to them have been insane. Just as another, the SEO team wanted me to put this in, just as another indication of how successful this has been. There's a tool, an SEO tool called LSI Graph, which is Latent Semantic Index Graph. Basically, it's to show you related keywords. Okay, so if you put in best PPI claims company into this tool as a keyword and you're trying to find out what related keywords are, actually our client comes up as a related keyword because they're now so synonymous with these terms. So this is an example of how optimizing the website and then doing those studies and getting links through to the website can really increase the ranking and traffic of a site. And this has all been in a fairly short period of time. We've been working with these guys now, I think, less than a year. So some incredible improvements so far. Okay, so that's the first case study. Second case study. This is an e-commerce site that is at the top of Google for 777 different keywords. So these guys are an e-cigarette e-commerce site. They're doing reasonably well when they came to us, but they're ambitious for growth. They saw it as a growing market, which it definitely is, and wanted to kind of cement their position as top dog in the UK. So first thing that we do, remember, always the same, always start by optimizing the website. So we did the on-site SEO. We did things like making sure the page titles and meta descriptions are in place. We made sure that there was enough content on all the pages. So for example, here's one of their product category pages. So if you're an e-commerce business, your product category page is the page that shows all of the products in a particular category. Okay, now you can see there, most of it's blurred out, but the bit that's not is text. All right, really important that there's that text on those category pages, because that's how Google understands what's on that particular page. So made sure that there was enough text, enough content on every single page of the site. That was very important. Right, so once the website's optimized, then it's time to do the promotion, right? The offsite promotion. So we did a few different things. For these guys, because they sell vaping products, that's the sort of thing where influencers and bloggers and people on YouTube, this is the sort of thing that they're talking about. So what we did is we ran some contests with influencers, and here's one. An authority in this market is called Vaping 360, which is a website, and we ran a giveaway with them. So we supplied product to them, they ran a giveaway. Now this contest, Vaping 360 I should say, have 150,000 followers on Facebook, so this is immediately getting huge attention in this market, and here they are sharing their contest with all of their fans. Now this contest had over 38,000 entries in a month. So what's the benefit of this? Well, obviously being shared gets links, but also getting in front of that audience and getting that number of people entering a contest run by your business is really good for visibility as well. And the cost of this is absolutely minimal. You can see, these products are not expensive at all. So very good value way of getting a lot of attention. We also did content marketing in a very similar vein as the previous example. So in this case, we were getting featured in all sorts of publications about vaping. One of the things that one of the places that we get written up is in Spin Fuel Vape. And here's an article about going abroad with your e-cigarette this summer. So we're just looking for topics which we can contribute to these websites, whether it's about vaping or whether it's about business in general. So here's the owner of the business getting featured in an article in Training Journal about maintaining staff motivation within a growing company. So again, we're just getting links. We're getting links from as many different websites, high authority websites, as we can in order to improve the ranking of the site. Now, Another thing that we did is we ran another original study. So using the same kind of data outreach as before. So we ran a study which looked at whether Brits think vaping is better than smoking and healthier and all that type of thing. Now, we ran this in conjunction with YouGov. I think it cost about a couple grand to run the study, so not a huge amount of money, but the results were incredible. So 43% of Brits thought vaping is better than smoking, and that picked up 259 links from different publications. Here it is getting featured again in Yahoo Finance. Now, one of the things that you can also do if you don't have the money to run a study yourself is you can look for other studies. So if you don't have the money, now here's an example on spin fuel. So here's another piece of content that we wrote around another study. Now, we didn't actually conduct this study. The major new study finds no long-term risks with vaping. That's something that lots of vaping websites would be really interested in talking about. So it's quite easy to get some visibility on that. Now, we didn't run that study. That study was actually from another company. Here you can see from Fontum Ventures, right? So this was a peer-reviewed clinical trial, which was going to be published in Regulatory Toxicology and Pharmacology. Now, I know everyone listening to this is an avid reader of that, but the point is that there are studies in your market, whether it's Office of National Statistics or someone else, there are always studies being carried out. And a lot of the time, ONS is creating loads and loads of these studies that no one pays any attention to. So you can go out there, you can have a look on the ONS website, you can find some studies which are relevant, and then you can create some content and some news around that, go out to these publications and get featured. And oftentimes, because ONS has run the study, they've done it really comprehensively. It's backed up with tons and tons of data that actually has more credibility than if you do it yourself. So lots of opportunity to piggyback on that type of thing and get some visibility. Okay, so results for this, the rankings increases were just absolutely ridiculous. As I say, page one for 707, I don't mean page one, I mean position one. So that's top of Google for 777 different keywords. Top 3 positions for 2,831 different keywords. So 2,831 keywords, they're ranking in the top 3 positions on Google for. And these are commercial phrases. They're things like manufacturers. And in fact, they're actually outranking some of the manufacturers and brand names that they sell for their own brand names. Right? So if you type in, for example, blue e-cigarette refill, it's not going to be blue e-cigarettes that shows up. It's actually going to be this website. So ridiculous results because none of their competitors are doing this stuff, with the studies and all of that. They're now the highest visibility UK e-cigarette store. As I say, they're outranking many of the brands that they sell. They're the highest ranking retailer for the phrase e-cigarette, which is obviously a massively commercial phrase in their market. Top of Google for things like vape pen. Now, here is their ranking graph so you can see. Now, there's some really interesting stuff to note here. What you're seeing with that blue line again is you're seeing how the ranking has improved over time, and each of the blue dots is a separate month. So you can see that in January 2015, in fact, for most of 2015, we started working with these guys, I think, in the summer of 2015. Most of 2015, rankings were actually fairly flat. And in fact, ranking actually dropped towards the end of the year. Then, as the website was more and more optimized, rankings started to pick up in 2016. As we started going really heavy with the content marketing and doing all the studies and data stuff, as these guys increase their SEO, that's when we start to see the massive increase that you can see there in 2017 and then into 2018 as well. So the important thing is here, they didn't just start doing this and then next week they saw incredible results, right? This is something that they've been working at over 2 years now, almost 2.5 years. So this is not the sort of thing that immediately happens overnight. And a lot of people get quite impatient and say, well, I've been doing this for 3 months now and I'm still not dominant in my market. And it's like, well, hold on, you're going up against people who've been working at this for 10 years with twice as much resource than you have. You're not going to beat them in 3 months, but over a year or over 6 months, even in some markets, you can actually start to make some massive inroads and eventually become completely dominant if you follow this process. Now let's look at another example here. So this is a SaaS business. So these guys have a software product. So not selling something online and Now, because they're quite a new business, it's a novel concept. They're helping organizations manage their employees' performance. So rather than doing, one-off employee appraisals, they're doing like a continuous performance management is what it's called. And this means that you're constantly incentivizing people. Now, it's quite a new thing, and they're solving a problem that their customers don't necessarily know that they have. Until you actually see the solution, until you read about the case studies and stuff and see this stuff, you actually don't necessarily think that you have a problem. So it poses a bit of a challenge, because we've got to try and get this site ranked for phrases that are going to be searched by people who have this issue, but the people don't actually know they have the issue. So what we did is we turned this guy into a super authority in his market, and we've used that to drive traffic. So I'm going to show you how that worked. Now, the first thing that we had to do, always the same, always focus on the website first of all. So we identified the keywords that people were searching for. Okay, so there's some phrases here with commercial intent. So commercial intent means someone's likely to buy as a result. So for example, if someone searches performance management tools, right, they're fairly likely to be looking for a performance management tool. They're not just researching for, casual shits and giggles on a Sunday afternoon, are they? If they're searching for performance management tools, they've got a problem, or they want a solution. Then on the other side, you have a more informational phrase, such as if someone just searches for performance management. So they could have heard that term, they could be looking to see what it actually means, they could be just curious about something, whatever. They could be looking for guides. So two very different types of phrase, but we wanted to target both of them. Okay, so how we target both of them? Well, you can target the commercial intent phrases, obviously through your website. So, if you've got a homepage and you optimize it for phrase like performance management tools, then you can start to get some visibility. But ranking it for phrases like performance management can be much trickier, because that's a more informational and research-led phrase. So what we did is we started doing lots of blogs and guides for these guys. So here you can see a series of short guides on their website, and there are loads and loads of these. Now, these are really amazing, because they get so much ranking for these informational type phrases. So, for example, we can see stuff here: how to measure the effectiveness of performance management. What is effective performance management system? What else have we got? Smart objectives for the new generation, keeping millennials engaged at work. So this is all informational and kind of research-led content. And the point of having this stuff is to start ranking it for these more informational and research-based phrases like performance management. And then we also do this on the blog as well. So performance management software, 3 common problems and complaints. So what are we doing there? Well, we're trying to rank that blog post for a phrase like performance management software, because we know that if someone's searching for that, they're typically looking for a solution. So that's something that we'd like to get ranked for, because that's basically what we're offering. So then we write a blog post which is about that topic and includes that keyword in the header. Great chance of ranking for it. You can see another blog post there, performance management software, the future of work. So we're targeting that same phrase. So that's the website side of things and the content. Really important. They say content is king. That's a super general phrase and nobody really knows what it means, but content is very, very important. Once we've done that, we start working on the promotion side of things and how we can get links and features across the internet. So the first question we asked is, where do HR managers spend their time reading content? So HR managers are the target audience for this business. Where are they spending their time online? We then started doing some outreach and authority positioning. So we're reaching out to the places that these HR managers are spending their time online, and we're saying, hey, we've got a guy who's really expertise in this particular area and he'd love to contribute some content to your website. We've written an article about blah, 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 blah. Does it sound like the sort of thing that your audience would be interested in reading about? They say yes, then we get the link. So here's some examples. Here we are on Entrepreneur. So the client, Stuart Hearn, we've got him featured as a writer on Entrepreneur. And this is something that lots and lots of people listening to this masterclass will be able to do, right? So you can go out there to these publications and you can get featured as an expert. And when you do that, it allows you to write content for these places, but also to include links back to your website. So here's another one on Brand Quarterly. And there's an article there, why managers should focus on employee strengths to inspire great performance. Customer Experience magazine, another feature there, understanding the psychology of something. Here's one on Prism, exactly the same deal. So you can see lots and lots of features from lots of different publications as a guest author. So what does this do? Well, over time, this really builds the authority of this guy. He can now, when we're reaching out to someone, we can say, oh, Stuart, as featured on Causecast, Prism, Sales Initiative, Customer Experience Magazine, Entrepreneur. So, it gives you this massive authority, which actually helps you to get more links. And so on and so on. So what are the results of this campaign? Well, traffic has been increasing 55% every quarter. Here's their traffic graph. You can see there since the start of 2016, how things have really, really taken off. And that ramp towards the middle and end of 2017 and into 2018 is as we start picking up more and more links and more features. So it's like a snowball effect. We've also been gaining some featured snippets, as we talked about earlier. So if you type in continuous performance management, here is a piece of content which ranks at the top of Google in this position 0 place, which is on the client's website, clearreview.com. So once you start doing this, you become synonymous with that keyword, right? They've kind of owned that continuous performance management phrase now. And now when someone searches for it, boom, here we are. We just dominate this. So I'd encourage you to think about what are the phrases that you want to rank for, what are the phrases that you want to dominate and you want to own. Because if you can get these types of featured snippets, then you can steal the vast majority of traffic for a search like that. Okay, so that's a SaaS example, and then we're going to wrap up with one more example, which is a huge one. I'm calling this one utter madness. They've gone from $500 a month to $1 million, almost $1 million, 996K. Yes. Anyway, so the mission for these guys: US e-commerce sites. So these guys based in the US and sell products online. The owner told us it was dead on its feet. So they came to us saying, hey, this site is dead. We're about to kill it. This was back in August 2015. They took a last gasp punt on our SEO service. Say, is there any life in this? Is there any point running this thing? It's not making any money. It's completely dead. No visibility whatsoever. So we said, cool, well, we've got this process that we go through, and we just did exactly the same thing as always. So starts off with the website, no surprises there. On-site optimization, so page titles, meta descriptions, content on the product and category pages, exactly the same. Is there enough content on all of these product pages? Is there enough content on these category pages? Put in as much as you possibly can. Another thing that we did with these guys is, as well as looking at the keywords people were searching for already, we were looking to the manufacturers and saying, what products are they coming out with? What are the keywords that are going to be popular in 1, 2, 3, 5 months' time? So what we could do then is we could start creating content around these keywords and picking up visibility before the competitors were targeting them. So the great thing is that once that product came out, well, here we are. We're top of Google. We're dominating already for this phrase. So that's something that you can do if there's some change in your market, or if you know that there's going to be a trend. From the SaaS website that we just looked at, another thing that we do there is we look at things like writing blog posts about performance management trends in 2016. So we wrote a piece called Performance Management Trends 2016 because that's a phrase that people search for. And then towards the end of 2016, we're like, oh, hold on. Very soon, people are going to be searching for Performance Management Trends 2017. So let's just write a post about that. And then you can just either create a new one, or you can just update that post every year to start targeting the next year's search volumes. So if you're in something where there are trends, or where there is, SEO ranking factors 2018, that's something you could just continually update every single year. So once we optimize the website, we then start working on promotion. So for these guys, we sent out review products to influencers and bloggers, people who would give us links. We ran influencer contests as well, just like you saw before. And we also ran some data outreach. I'm not going to go too much into that because we've already looked at examples of how to do that. The results were just ridiculous. But important to note, things started steadily. So here's a graph that shows, this is from Google Analytics. So this is showing their traffic from Google organically. So we can see SEO started there in August 2015. And you can see we saw a bit of an improvement. So the revenue is the y-axis there. And revenue was very, very, very low, as I say, about $500 a month. And you can see there that things started to tick up after a few months. We know we're not millionaires yet, right? He's not sat on the beach yet. But after 12 months of SEO, the $500 a month had turned into $76,000 a month. So at that point, pretty happy. So that's the shape of the graph over the course of, not the first year of SEO, but the first, whatever that is, 10 months of SEO. Now, keep in mind the shape of that section. That section is the bit in that box there, right? So that massive increase that you saw at the end there, that's how big the increase was over the course of the campaign so far. So you can see how high that graph ended up going, and it cuts off in February 2018. But it cuts off after that. January was obviously for this business, shit really got serious in January, and they almost hit 1 million. No doubt by the time you watch this, they would have done over 1 million in a month. So after 24 months of SEO, the $500 a month had turned into $509,000 a month. And then by January 2018, we were at $996,544.92. So that's an example. You've seen 4 examples there, some e-commerce, some SaaS. Exactly the same process every time, isn't it? It's getting the website optimized and then it's doing the offsite promotion. So what we're going to do now is we're going to transfer into how to get your business featured in magazines, newspapers, and e-zines. So the reason that we've segued into this is because, as we saw, the second stage there, offsite promotion, really important to get featured and get your business mentioned and linked to from these sorts of publications. So we're going to look at a little bit more of how to do that, and I'm going to give you some more some tips on how to do it. Cool. So think about news and magazine sites first of all. Imagine a news magazine site that's specific to your industry. So if you're B2B, there's going to be trade journal type sites, news about whatever your market is. These websites have 2 things that we need. Firstly, they have high domain authority, right? So these websites are very authoritative, and a link from a high domain authority website means that our website increases in ranking as a result. They also have a targeted niche audience, or niche if you're American. So they have a targeted niche audience, which means that when we get featured in them, there's a bit of credibility and a bit of authority that comes along with that. They're a great source of links and credibility. So here is the manufacturer website. And I want you to imagine for a second that by some cruel twist in fate, you wake up on Monday morning and you are shocked to realize that you are editor at the manufacturer magazine. You open your computer, on Monday morning, and you've got to fill this site with as much brand new and interesting content as you possibly can. Now you can see their main headline piece there is record investment sees shower train manufacturer shine, right? So it's safe to say that in this market, every day is a slow news day, right? So what are the challenges for you? Well, the challenges for you as an editor, right, is that you need to fill this stuff with interesting content. You need to come up with articles that people are actually going to want to read. So imagine that someone comes over to you and offers to write you a killer article, which is really interesting, really topical, maybe taps into something which everyone's talking about, like Donald Trump or something like that. They offer to write you this content free of charge in the style of all the other articles that you publish, but more interesting. They offer to source you the images, they want to proofread it, and they even suggest a great headline that you can use. So are you interested in that proposition? Yes or no? Yes, of course you are. So for a publication like Manufacturer, there's 2 ways of getting in. You can either get featured, which tends to come, get featured, which is where they talk about you and they mention you, and that tends to come from journalist inbound inquiries, which we'll talk about in a second. Or you can be the author, you can contribute the content. So this tends to come from outreach, otherwise known as pitching. So here's some examples. I'm going to show you some quick examples. We've already looked at some examples, but you can see here's At Home magazine, and you can see the author of this is a lady called Claire Wayers, who is a client of ours, and she's written that piece of content. Here's another example on All Women's Talk. This is all about skin therapy, how to produce your own edible face products. So she's written this. She owns a beauty school. That's why she's writing and contributing this content, right? And actually, it was just us. We just researched and wrote it. So this is how a lot of the content on the internet is produced, and that's why it's produced. Here's another example in Girl Zone, blah, blah, blah. Here's an example of an outdoor playground manufacturer, an outdoor playground equipment manufacturer getting featured in a publication called Innovate My School. Now, why would an outdoor playground manufacturer want to get published in Innovate My School? Well, because the target audience of Innovate My School is teachers, yes. And of course, they're the people who are buying playground equipment. So by getting featured in this place, by talking about teaching literacy outdoors, etc., you get the gist of it. So it's getting featured in the sort of places that your target audience is reading. That gives you credibility, but it also gives you links. Now, interestingly, this visibility can lead to greater opportunities. So we had a client who we were working with and who contributed to an article in the Mirror about how to keep your ticker healthy. So this guy ran a personal trainer training company. So they did personal training courses for people if they wanted to learn to become qualified. So when we were working with him to get content and links published, we said, okay, what's he really an expert in? Well, we can write content about personal trainer training, but that's fairly niche. If we move him out of that and we talk instead about health and we make him an authority on health, well, that opens up lots and lots of opportunities for us to get some links and to get some features. So we had an inquiry from Sarah Cooper White, who writes for the Mirror, and she said we're looking for people to talk about health and for National Heart Month and what people can do to keep their heart health. So we said, okay, great. So we've got a client who's a real expert in health, and here's his tip, and they included it in the Mirror article. But it didn't stop there. Around the time of, I don't know if you remember they had these waist trainers, right? So if you're a girl and you want big booty and you want a small waist, you wore this kind of oppressive corset, which squeezed your body and crushed your internal organs so that you appeared to have a slim waist until you had some serious health issues. Anyway, so these things were coming out and they were all the rage, and lots of people were writing about them. So we jumped on that bandwagon. One of the things that we'll often do is write about trending topics. So we got this client and we wrote some articles on behalf of him talking about how these waist trainers were unnecessary and ridiculous and all of that. One of the researchers for the BBC Victoria Derbyshire show was also looking into this topic because they wanted to do a piece for it. And they wanted to find a health expert, and she came across one of the articles that we'd written for our client. So she contacted us and said, hey, would you be willing to come onto the Victoria Derbyshire show to talk about these ridiculous, stupid waist trainers? We said, of course he would. So he ended up on the show, live on BBC Two there. He's the guy second from the right. It all got a little bit weird. He stood up. He wasn't the best TV interview you've ever seen. It was slightly awkward. I think security were waiting in the wings. But anyway, we get them the visibility. It's up to them what they do with it. So an example of how getting this sort of authority and credibility and being featured in lots of places leads to much bigger opportunities to get featured in places. Okay, here's some more examples. This is for an accountancy firm. So we've done outreach for different business magazines. So magazines targeted at businesses who might be a client of a small accountancy firm. So yeah, lots of ideas there. So 3 funding ideas for modern startup and some links, how to manage your own accounts, how to manage your accounts when you aren't an accountant. So you get the gist of it, right? It's looking for the sort of publications that your target audience is going to be reading. It's thinking about what are they really interested in doing? What are they interested in learning about? And then it's providing that content. So there's the ranking that resulted from this. And that accountancy firm is getting 3 highly qualified new leads per day, up from 0. They're the most visible accountant in their city, which is Leeds. And they've turned off all their other marketing as a result. And we're still working with them 3 years later. So how do you get this kind of visibility? What I'm going to talk you through now is the outreach process to actually getting these sorts of features. So the first thing that you do is you start with planning and you say, who is my target audience? Who do I want to get in front of? We say, what do they care about? So what are the trending topics? What are the things that they're reading about? If they're logging onto Facebook, what are they hoping to see an article about? When they go onto the industry sites, what are they reading about? What are they spending time thinking about? What are their pain points? Where are they and which publications are they reading? And then what sort of content do these publications publish? Because we need to make sure that we can match our content that we're submitting to the style of the publication. The next stage from that is pitching. So you don't get any of this attention without asking for it. So firstly, find out who is the right contact at the publication. Look at the people who have written about similar topics for that publication. Their names will always be on the website, and you can usually find or you can guess their email addresses. So think about, what are these people's goals? So if I'm a journalist and I'm writing for the manufacturer, I'm trying to get my content done so I can move on to the next thing, because I'm not being paid enough. I need to get that stuff done and I need to get it out. So I need to make sure, if I'm reaching out to that person, that I'm giving them content that's really useful. I'm telling them that you can have it fairly quickly and that they can have exclusivity on it and that type of stuff. And then we need to follow up. You're never going to get a yes on your first request. It's all about the follow-up. So for example, what we might do is we might reach out to a publication. Here's a live example from one of our clients. So the outreach email that we run here is, "Hi Scott, I noticed that you ran a recent feature on the NHS staff cuts, and I wanted to ask you if you'd be interested in the opinions of Ron Stewart, who runs the UK's largest medical recruitment company and has some very strong views on the topic. He's put together an article titled 'How the NHS Risks Squeezing Out Care from the Hospitals,' which I'd be happy to send over. He's been published in numerous magazines and newspapers already in this area, and should you be interested, you would of course have exclusivity. Many thanks, Tim." So there's a few important things there. We're making it clear that this guy is a genuine expert, largest medical recruitment company. We're saying very strong views on the topic. Oh, very interesting. Everyone loves some very strong views. Always good to get some people's opinions. And we've also talked about how the NHS risks squeezing out care from the hospitals, which everyone loves bashing on the government or bashing on the NHS. So you don't really want to tell these guys anything new. You just want to stand in their corner and give them a new opinion on something that they already care about and they're already passionate about. So you send this over, and once the person says, yes, that's interesting, then you start writing. It's only after you get a yes, then you start writing the articles to save you time. So you want to match the style of the publication. You want to stick to word counts if they give you them. You don't want to make it too advertorial, and you want to make sure that you include mentions of other websites, and then you want to run a spelling and grammar check. Very important. Also include a bio at the end, right? Because this is where your link is going to be more often than not. And you want to make sure that you include high quality and licensed images. You want to make it as easy as possible for these publications to publish your article. Once you get it live, don't give up there. That's not where it stops. You want to use this to build momentum. Okay, so every single time you get published somewhere, this is a potential regular contribution. So you could then go back to them and offer them some more content. So you could say, hey, thank you for publishing my article. It looks like your audience found it really helpful because I got loads of questions. And in fact, most of the questions centered around these 3 different topics. So what I've done is I've created another article which is answering these 3 questions that people always seem to have. Would you be interested in me sending that over? And of course they'll say, yeah, well, yes, it looks like your first article was pretty good actually. So we'd be very interested. And then all of a sudden you have a regular publication. The more links you can get from these, the more credibility that you have. So follow up with the editor and thank them. No one ever does this. And you will secure regular articles. So that's how to do outreach. Now there's another side of things, which is the inbound PR request. And this is typically how you get the real big stuff. So I'm talking about Forbes, Telegraph, Guardian, Times, that type of stuff. That tends to come from an inbound PR request. So we're going to talk through the process there. I'm going to show you how to do this. So firstly, to introduce you to something called journalist inquiry services. I don't know if you're familiar with them. Journalist inquiry services are where journalists submit requests for interviewees or features. So for example, let's imagine that I'm a journalist and I'm writing about National Heart Month. Okay, I've got my deadline coming up and it's next Monday and I haven't started it yet and I haven't got any professional opinions for my article. All of it is just my opinion so far. What I need to do is I need to get some data to back it up. I need to get some third parties to talk for my article. So what I'll do is I'll go out to a journalist inquiry service and I'll say, hey, I'm writing this article on this and I need some opinions on this. And if you sign up for one of these services, then you get these requests. And then if there's one that's relevant for your business, then you say, hey, I could give you an opinion on this. And if you do, they might feature you in their article. So same rules apply in that we want to think about this person. We want to think they're busy, they're stressed. We need to be very concise. We need to give them exactly what they want. Now, there's a couple of inquiry services that you want to think about: Response Source and Gorkana. Response Source is, I think it's about £800 a year per category or something like that. So you sign up for one particular category, for example, health or finance, whatever, and then you get all the inquiries around that topic. Gorkana is a bit more expensive. I think it might be a few grand a year. I'm actually going to show you an alternative where you don't need to use any of these and you can just use Twitter and it's completely free. But I want to show you this anyway for the sake of being complete. So here's an example of an inbound journalist inquiry service. You can see here it says Media Outlet Prima, so it tells you the publication, it tells you that the journalist is Fiona Ford, it tells you that she's freelance, which is great because it means that if you get featured here, you might get some other opportunities as well to get featured. It tells you a deadline for leads. This is a very hard deadline. If you miss the deadline, then the emails to Fiona will bounce. It's that hard. And then it has the query. Hi all, I'm writing a piece on how to relax over the summer and looking for tips and suggestions women from 30 and above can relate to. I'm after anything and everything, so whether it's scheduling time to meditate, getting a great night's sleep, lowering blood pressure, I'm open to all ideas but would love to hear from you. As ever, we can plug websites, contacts, campaigns, etc. So please do get in touch if you're interested. All the best, Fiona. So the really interesting thing there, as ever, we can plug websites, contacts, campaigns, etc. So please do get in touch if you're interested. That tells us that we're going to get a link. So what do we do with this? Well, what we don't do is we don't email Fiona and say, hey Fiona, we could help you with this. If you want some help, let me know. Because imagine Fiona, she's just sent this out. She's probably going to get 200 emails in the next 3 hours, right? From people saying exactly that. Hey Fiona, we could help. Hey Fiona, my client can do this for you if you want. You want to just shortcut all of that bullshit and just rise straight to the top. So what we do, we email out, we say, hi Fiona, I represent Peter Lemon, an experienced personal trainer. He has the following relaxation tip. We then give her the tip. We give her the tip that she's asked for. Even though she hasn't asked us specifically for it, we'll say, hey, here's the tip. And then we say, if you found the information useful, you can give credit to, and then we include the bio with the link. This means we don't even have to hear from Fiona ever again. Right, she's got her thing now. She's got her tip. She's got her link. Great. We're happy because we get the feature. We get the link. That's awesome. So we really make it easy for her rather than forcing her to do this kind of email chasing. Oh, okay, great. That's a really good tip. So who do I credit this to? Oh, you can credit to blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay. And what's their website? All of that stuff. Just cut it all out. Just give them exactly what they need. Make it as easy as possible. And that's how that article in the Mirror ended up there and how we ended up on TV and all the rankings and everything. Right, so that's inbound journalist inquiry services. You don't have to do any of that anymore because there's this thing called Twitter. And Twitter finally has a use. 2 hashtags that you need to be following, hashtag journal request and hashtag PR request. What will happen here is that people like this girl, Elizabeth Anderson, will tweet things like, looking to speak to small business owners who will be affected by next week's dividend tax changes. Any suggestions? Hashtag SMEs, hashtag journal request. So that's something which relates to probably everybody who's listening to this webinar, right? If you're a small business, you could have an opinion on this. All you need to do is go onto Google. What are the tax changes? Make up something that's going to get some attention. Send it over to Lizzie, right? So why would you want to do this? Well, if you look in Lizzie's bio, you can see that she is business reporter at The Telegraph, particularly interested in enterprise and innovation. The Telegraph. It'd be great to get a link from The Telegraph, wouldn't it? Yes, here's another example. Rich McKieran, looking for hashtag SME owners to share tips on experiences of tweaking sleeping and eating habits to improve work well-being. Hashtag journal request. Right, so why would we want to reply to Rich? Why would we want to give him a tip about sleeping and eating? Well, he's writer of all things edible, sustainable, and small business at The Guardian and others, right? And others. Long-term suffering Arsenal supporter. Wow, he really, really needs our help. So, and I say that as an Arsenal supporter myself. So Guardian and others means he writes for other publications. If we can get a relationship with Rich, we might be able to get featured in lots of different places. So we just send over a little tweet. Hey, Rich. SME owner who hits the gym 6 days a week here. Happy to talk on email, tim@exposureninja.com. Super simple. I've given him the tip. I've told him how he can get in contact with me if he likes. Here's another example. Alison Coleman. What do hashtag entrepreneurs wear for work and how does it impact on creativity, productivity, winning new business? Top media op, hashtag journal request. Top media op are my 3 favorite words. So I reply to her, Alison Coleman, dressed up despite working from home, happy to send over quote. Email tim@exposureninja.com. She replies, just inboxed you. Okay, so what happens as a result of that, and why do we want to talk to Alison? Well, Alison writes for Forbes. Fantastic. And really good person to have. So all of that communication happened on March the 14th, right? March the 21st, Alison tweets out, how you dress for work can make you more productive, via Forbes, with a link to the article. Thanks at Exposure Ninja. So she's tweeted Exposure Ninja as a result, and there's the link to the Forbes article. If you have a look at the Forbes article itself, we can see here, does your choice of work outfit make you more productive? Now, she's written about this. She's included mention of Mark Zuckerberg, Richard Branson, Steve Jobs, all of those in the first paragraph. And then I get 3 paragraphs talking about how I dress up reasonably smart for my meetings with Skype and filming videos, even though I work from home. So great visibility for Exposure Ninja. No one ever fed their kids on visibility though, so we don't really care about that. The thing we do get is we get the link back to the Exposure Ninja website from Forbes, which is super high authority, and we now get to say, hey, Exposure Ninja as featured in Forbes. So great thing to do, completely free. Everyone now should go to Twitter and search for hashtag PR request, hashtag journo request, and make sure you are following those hashtags because there's lots and lots of great free visibility that you can get. Okay, takeaways and Q&A. Then we're obviously not going to do Q&A because this is a recording, but in the real life session, there'll be Q&A. So just imagine that people are asking some really insightful, intelligent questions, and I'm just answering them with this most amazing poise and sophistication, and they're all leaving really happy. So just imagine that. Before then, though, we'll go to some takeaways. So how to improve the ranking and traffic to any website. So we looked at this. We looked at basically there's 2 elements. So there's having a worthy website, right? Deserving to rank. It needs to be attractive. It needs to have a low bounce rate. It needs to convert well, obviously, because if you're not converting visitors into leads, then the whole thing is totally pointless anyway. It needs to be well SEO'd. So we talked about titles and descriptions, and check out the other masterclasses for some info on how to do them. And we also talked about lots of content as well. So really important to make sure that you've got lots of content and it's really descriptive and it uses your target keywords. Then it's about visibility. So this is the off-site promotion. We talked about content marketing, the original studies and surveys. We talked about digital PR outreach as well. So getting featured in those magazines and news sites. And we talked about some bloggers and influencers. So I hope you found that useful. Now, if you want some help with this, my company Exposure Ninja actually offers you some completely free help to get you started with all of this. So we do something called the Exposure Ninja website and marketing review. This is world famous. It is genuinely the best free review, free help that you will ever get for your website. It is fantastic. So if you want to go to exposureninja.com/review, you'll see a form to fill in. This is basically a questionnaire which asks you a few questions about your business and what you want your website to be doing. So how is your website performing at the moment? What do you want it to be doing? What's it not doing that it should be doing? If you don't know, fine, just send us the website and we'll have a look and we'll see what it could be doing. So what happens here is one of our marketing specialists will take a look at the site. They'll also have a look at your competitors. They'll deconstruct your visibility. So they'll see what you're ranking for at the moment, the different phrases that you're showing up for on Google. They'll see how you can improve that ranking, and they'll make some very specific suggestions for you to follow to increase your ranking and to increase the number of leads and sales that you're generating through your website. So this is completely free of charge. There's absolutely no catch at all. If you see the recommendations and you say, wow, these guys know what they're doing and we really want to become a client, then we can have a conversation around that. So this is how we get clients basically. But there's absolutely no obligation to do it. No one's going to cold call you and try and hammer you and, get you to sign up or anything like that. It's completely chilled out. We just want to show you some stuff. Even if you decide to do this stuff yourself or with your current agency, that's completely up to you as well. So check out the free review. It's genuinely incredible. If you can head over to Facebook. If you go to facebook.com/exposure ninja, you'll see, I think there's actually now over 255-star reviews for this. It's a really good service. We spend a lot of time on it and we train our people ridiculous amounts to be able to do these reviews. So very, very powerful. So hope you find it useful, and thank you very much for tuning in, and look forward to seeing you soon.